At 70, she had buried everyone, and this story did not begin with death. It began with silence. I remember the day I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a stranger staring back. Silver had settled into my hair. Lines had carved themselves around my eyes. Yet the question in my gaze was the same one that had followed me for years. Do we truly live our own lives? Or do we spend them paying for choices made quietly, long before we understood their cost? I am 55 years old now, but this story is older than me. It belongs to a woman whose life taught me more than any sermon ever could, even though she never meant to teach at all. I met her on a hospital corridor bench. Her hands trembled in her lap, folded tightly as if holding something invisible together. Her eyes were dry. People often believe that the absence of tears means strength, but the deepest pain is the one that refuses to spill out. That day, her eldest son lay between life and death behind a closed door. His heart was failing him. Doctors speaking in cautious voices, offering hope without conviction. She kept repeating the same sentence under her breath, as if saying it enough times might bend reality just once more. Let him be okay just once more. She was around 50 then. I did not know that I was witnessing the first chapter of a journey that would end in complete solitude at 70. Her life had begun in an ordinary way. She was a village girl, raised to obey, to endure, to believe that asking fewer questions made life smoother. She married young, trusting a man whose words were confident and whose promises felt solid. He worked in the city, spoke of progress, of a future better than the one they had known. Their early home was small, but hope filled its corners. Later, she would say, we had nothing, but our hearts were lighter. At the time, she did not realize how precious that lightness was. Then things changed. Money began to flow. Clothes improved, the house expanded, relatives showed respect. But along with comfort came unease. Her husband's tone hardened. His prayers shortened. The warmth between walls cooled. She sensed that the money did not come from clean places. But she chose not to see clearly. She told herself that a woman's duty was to manage the home, not to question how provision arrived. That was the first turn in the road, one she dismissed as insignificant. Children came one after another. A son, then a daughter, then more sons. The house filled with noise, laughter, arguments, life. She was exhausted but fulfilled. She believed children could heal everything, that their presence alone could protect a family from collapse. She did not know that sometimes joy is only a pause, not a solution. The first warning arrived quietly. Her eldest son fainted at school. Tests followed, then words she did not want to understand. His heart was weak. She rejected the idea immediately. He looked healthy, laughed loudly, ran fast. Illness made no sense, but illness does not seek permission. Treatment began. Hospitals became familiar. Nights turned into prayers, whispered on cold benches. Her husband threw money at the problem, believing expense equaled control. But some things cannot be bought. When the boy died, something inside her fractured. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. She wrapped her grief tightly and continued living because that was what mothers did. People came, offered condolences, spoke of fate and divine will. She nodded, accepting their words outwardly while a question stirred quietly inside her. She forced it back into sleep. Years later, her daughter fell ill. This time there was no long battle. One day she was alive, the next she was gone. Again the heart. Again shock. Again a grave dug too early. 2 children lost, and still she told herself that life was cruel, not meaningful. She did not want to see patterns, because patterns demand accountability. Her husband changed, or perhaps revealed who he had always been. He grew distant, rigid, absorbed by his pursuits. Guilt does not always confess. Sometimes money continued to arrive. Peace did not. The younger sons followed, one by one. Different circumstances, different days, but the same ending. An accident that made no sense. An illness that advanced too fast. Each loss stripped something from her voice. She cried less, spoke less, expected less. By the time the last son was buried, the house felt hollow, like a place where echoes came only to disappear. The laughter that once bounced off its walls had been replaced by a silence so thick it felt alive. Only one daughter remained. She was married off with hope clutched tightly in trembling hands. Distance, the mother believed, might protect what was left. Perhaps fate would spare at least one child. The daughter lived, but never became a mother. Doctors offered explanations, treatments, reassurances, but time passed without new life. The family line ended quietly, not with tragedy, but with absence. At 70, the woman sat alone in a house filled with photographs. Faces smiled back at her from frames, frozen in moments that no longer existed. She did not cry anymore. She had exhausted her tears long ago. What remained was a tired stillness, the kind that settles after a lifetime of Watching her changed me. It forced me to face truths I had avoided for years. We like to believe that our private compromises remain private, that the way we earn, the way we justify, the way we stay silent will not reach beyond us. But life does not respect such boundaries. Foundations matter. What we build on determines how long things stand. The consequences are not always immediate. Sometimes wrongdoing waits patiently, allowing comfort to grow, allowing pride to bloom, before collecting its debt in unbearable ways. As a younger woman, I too made excuses. I stayed silent when speaking felt dangerous. I accepted ease without questioning its source. I believed that being a good mother meant keeping life running smoothly, regardless of cost. With age, I learned that peace built on silence is not peace. It is postponement. And postponement often sharpens the ending. That woman once said to me, her voice barely audible, "If I could go back, I would not stay quiet." She did not say this with anger. She said it with exhaustion. By then, there was nothing left to save. Her story taught me that integrity is not an abstract virtue. It is protection. Not protection from hardship, but protection from becoming the cause of someone else's suffering. Wealth without conscience is not provision. It is a test. Silence in the face of wrongdoing is not patience. It is participation. I often think about how she lived long enough to understand everything, but too late to change it. That is the cruelty of time. It teaches slowly and demands payment quickly. Her life was not meant to frighten, but to awaken. Time does not simply pass. It records. Every decision leaves a mark, even those we label harmless. She died not long after reaching 70. Some said she lost the will to live. Perhaps that was true. When you bury everyone you love, survival itself becomes a question without an answer. But her story survived. It settled into me, shaping how I see my own life, my own choices. This is not only her story. It belongs to anyone who believes that ignoring wrong is neutrality. It belongs to parents who think provision ends with food and clothing. It belongs to those who underestimate how deeply their paths shape their children's futures. At 55, I now speak even when my voice trembles. One, choose less, but I choose cleanly. I remember that those who love me carry the weight of my decisions, whether I intend it or not. Regret is not loud. It sits beside you in old age, asking gentle but unbearable questions. Wisdom, real wisdom, is living in a way that leaves fewer graves behind. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine her younger self, a girl with hopeful eyes, unaware of the storms ahead. I wonder what might have changed if someone had warned her. If she had believed that comfort gained at the cost of conscience always demands repayment, but life rarely gives warnings in words. It teaches through watching, through loss, through stories like hers. That is why I speak now. Not as a judge, not as a preacher, but as someone who has seen how quietly everything can collapse. We often look for dramatic turning points, but most lives change direction through small choices repeated over time. Silence chosen again and again. Questions swallowed. Justifications accepted. Her story feels real because it is real. It reflects pieces of countless lives lived quietly around us. We all know someone like her, even if we do not know their full story. And perhaps, if we are honest, we recognize parts of ourselves too. Life does not demand perfection from us. It asks for honesty. Honesty about where our comfort comes from. Honesty about what we tolerate. Honesty about the price others might pay for our ease. If this story stirs something uneasy inside you, that unease is not meant to shame you. It is meant to guide you. Because the greatest tragedy is not loss itself, but understanding too late what might have been done differently.